In this course, we are going to see the custom client provided by GXflow. GXflow Custom Client is provided by GXflow and can be imported into the knowledge base to use or modify as a part of our project. It contains all the web panels and procedures needed to implement many functionality of GXflow standard client that we have seen in previous part of this course. Using the GXflow Custom Client, you can log into GXflow, execute the user inbox, see the out of tray, administrate the process definitions, work items, instances, and even monitor the execution. If you look at the source code programmed in these web panels, we can see how they use the workflow APIs to connect the workflow engine and get the information needed in each case, execute different functions to each object, etc. In this video, we are going to see some of the panels from the custom client to understand its code and how they can be modified. You can modify the custom client for several reasons. For example, we can add or hide information, integrate the custom client to our web panels, add actions at different parts to include some code. All the UX of these web panels can be modified and adjusted to our project. We use custom client to integrate the client of GXflow into our project as a part of our project without the user interface of GXflow and using our own user interface. If we want to see more information about custom client, we can follow this link. The custom client contains a few folders: desktop folder, the process manager folder, document manager folder, event viewer folder, and the management console. The custom client desktop folder, it has the inbox, the outbox, the process, my processes, and my documents. They provide the same information and actions as the standard client. The process manager folder contains the pages, the tasks, and the process definitions that are the more used pages from the process manager section. The document manager folder contains the document administration page, the same as the standard client. The event viewer folder contains the event manager page, the same as the standard client. And the manager console contains the user administration, the role administration, the organizational unit definition, and the organizational unit pages, the same as the custom client. The statistics, backend, server settings, and license manager are not implemented in the custom client example. The main use of the custom client is incorporate GXflow pages to our project using the same UX. For example, this page presents an inbox customized with the look and feel and behavior that match the rest of our application. The user of our application will not feel the difference from other parts of our application. To incorporate this to our knowledge base, we have to import an XPZ file that's provided within the GXflow installation. Before importing, check that at least one business process diagram has been created in the knowledge base. This is necessary to make sure that the model has the workflow data types. Otherwise, will be an error during the compilation of the project. When we are importing this file to our knowledge base, we can see all the web panels, procedure, and structured data type that's going to be incorporated to knowledge base. And it's going to be at a folder, client folder, inside the workflow folder of our knowledge base explorer. After we import the workflow custom client into our knowledge base, we're going to find the workflow client folder. Inside this folder, all the web panels import. If we run the main object, the workflow client, we can see this workflow custom client and execution. First, we have to sign in, so I want to write the workflow user. And then its password. After I sign in, I'm here at the workflow client main object. I will click the inbox link to go to the workflow inbox page. Then here are all the filters, the actions, and the grid with all the work items I have to execute and complete. I will start a new project selecting Purchases process and then the menu button. Here it creates the work item, the first work item of the process. Now I will execute this work item. This asks me to to upload a document. So I will create a new document called doc of the type and will select it from my file system. After I select my file, I have confirmed and that will be uploaded here. After I complete this task, I press the button complete to create the next work items in the process definition. I can see, for example, the history of a process that shows me all the work items that have been created. The main object of the GXflow Custom Client is a web panel called GXflow Client, as we have seen during the execution. If we click the link inbox, it's going to appear in the right part of the web panel in the GXflow inbox code. This page, the GXflow Client, has three parts. The first, the header, which is taken from the master page of the web panel. Then a tree menu with all the functions that are provided by the custom client. We can click on those web panels, links, and it will show the selected page at the right part of the panel. In this case, I have selected the inbox, and it's going to show the GXflow inbox web panel. The GXflow inbox has the GXflow filters, the function, the first element is a GXflow filter. Then it has a table with all the actions that can be executed from the grid: execute, complete, history, preview, delegate. Then it has a combo box, which has all the processes that the user logged in can start. After that, it has a grid with all the work items that belongs to the GXflow inbox of this user. After that, it has a web component with the control of page in this grid. If we see the code of this panel, the first event is the event start. Here, the web panel will validate the session of the user session. Every object of the custom client checks if there's a valid session, and to do so, it uses a procedure called GXflow check server session. Well, here we have two variables: the server variable, which is of the GXflow server data type, the user variable, which is of the GXflow user data type. First, it's going to load the GXflow server variable from the web session using the GXflow check server session procedure we're going to see in the next part of the course. After that it has the GXflow server loaded, it will obtain the connected user from the GXflow server, and then it will initialize the web page. In this case, we are initializing the GXflow inbox, so it's going to load all the created process, the combo box that we have seen during execution. First, it clears its components, add the first item, the select element, and then use the user logged in obtained previously in the event start, and it used the method list creatable process definition. This method obtains all the process definitions that a user logged in can create and start. We are going to filter this method. It has a filter parameter, but in this case we are leaving this filter empty. This variable filter is from the GXflow filter data type. After that, the process definition, which is a list of process definition, it's not empty. We are going to iterate this list and load all the process definition ID and name to the combo box. After we load the combo box, we are going to create two web components. first with the workflow filter, which use the workflow filter web component and the workflow paging. After we finish the start event, we are going to see the workflow check server session procedure. These procedures get the session handler ID from the web session and load this connection into the workflow server variable. It was previously saved this session during the login into the web session of the. If there's an error during this loading session, the program will redirect to the workflow sign-in. And after the loading the session, the connected user is connected to the workflow server variable. The next method at the workflow inbox is the refresh event. This executes a subroutine called load filters that will bring all the filters from the web session that were previously saved in the workflow filter web component. So it loads at the workflow filter variable all the workflow filter that were saved at the web session. After that, we'll obtain from the web session also the actual page of the workflow inbox. The filters are in a web component called workflow filter, and it saves the filters SDT into the web session. If we see this web panel workflow filter, it looks like this. It has a priority, state, subject, processes, activity, name, user, and has two main subroutines. The first is the one it executes when it's loading, that loads all the filters workflow data type from the web session that was previously saved, and it loads all the data into the variables of the panel. In case that this workflow filter is executed from an outbox, it loads the today variable into the ended from variable and the ended to variable. It's working. It's called from the my process or process task document, my documents and events. It loads the today variable into the create from for default values. After the user completes the information and clicks the apply button, it will execute an event we call a save files or subroutine. In this subroutine, we'll save all the information loaded by the user in the variables and by the user in the variables to the filter data type SDT. After it loads all the information in the filter variable, it will load that information into the web session in order to have it available for the workflow inbox. After we load the filters in the refresh event, it will use the user variable previously loaded at the start event with the method getWordListOrderBy. This method gets the word list of the user, which is a list of work items that are needed to be completed by this user. This method can be filtered. It will be filtered with information that was entered in the workflow filter web component. And also, it has another parameter, which is the order that we are going to see the information. In this case, we're going to order with the workflow domain, and will be defined that it will be the order with the created date descendant. This will return us a list of workflow work items. We are going to load this list into the workflow work items variable. In the grid load event, we are going to iterate this list, and for each element of this list, we are going to load the information of that work item into the variables of the grid, and then we are going to execute the grid load method. This will make all the work items loaded into the grid.